For the last 40 years, the global economy relied on a single, unshakable mathematical absolute, the unstoppable rise of China. We watched a collection of rural agrarian provinces transform, almost overnight, into a hyper-modern playground of glass skyscrapers, high-speed rail networks, and industrial manufacturing dominance. It was an economic miracle, completely unprecedented in human history, lifting over 800 million people out of poverty and rewriting the global geopolitical balance of power. Every global corporation, every Western government, and every financial institution structured their 21st century playbooks around one core assumption, that the Chinese growth engine would accelerate indefinitely. But today that engine is drastically changing gears. Beneath the flawless facade of political projections and carefully choreographed military parades, a massive structural shift is taking place. The old formula, the one that turbocharged the country's rise through endless cheap labor, explosive real estate development, and massive high-leverage debt, has officially hit its absolute physical and mathematical limit. The easy phase of growth is over. The world's second-largest economy is entering a highly precarious transition phase. It is an intense, high-stakes race against its own internal contradictions. Faced with a real estate bubble that is deflating in slow motion and a domestic consumer base that refuses to spend, policymakers are trying to pull off the ultimate high-wire act. China is running out of time, running out of workers, and trying to pull off a monumental gamble, completely abandoning its old debt-driven growth model and replacing it with a fully automated, high-tech industrial revolution. The dragon is forced to reinvent itself from the factory floor up, and the outcome of this transition will dictate the economic future of the entire planet. To understand China's modern economic anxiety, you have to look past the neon skylines and look directly into its cradle. For decades, the foundational bedrock of China's manufacturing dominance was its demographic dividend, and seemingly infinite pool of young, highly motivated, low-cost workers flocking from rural villages to newly constructed coastal cities. This was the human machinery that built the modern world. However, this massive labor force was not a natural occurrence. It was artificially, ruthlessly sculpted by the state's draconian one-child policy, implemented in 1980 to curb runaway overpopulation. But demography is a slow-moving freight train. Once it gains momentum in a specific direction, it becomes virtually impossible to stop or reverse. Today, China's long-feared demographic crisis has officially graduated from an academic warning into an immediate, crushing reality. The country's population is actively shrinking. Birth rates have collapsed to their lowest levels since the founding of the People's Republic in 1949, crashing to fewer than 8 million births annually. The cradle is emptying out, and the structural implications are terrifying for an economy built on industrial scale. The government's panicked policy reversals, which suddenly allowed families to have 2 and then 3 children, have completely failed to fix the problem. The reason is simple. The economic reality of modern Chinese urban life has made parenthood a terrifying financial gamble. Sky-high apartment costs, hyper-competitive education expenses, and unpunishing corporate work culture, known as 996, working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, have caused a fundamental cultural shift among the youth. Young couples are actively choosing to marry later, or completely opt out of family life altogether, choosing a philosophy of radical non-participation. Economists call the ultimate result of this trend the 4-2-1 problem. Because of the legacy of the one-child policy, a single, childless young adult in modern China is now structurally and financially responsible for supporting 2 aging parents and 4 retired grandparents. This inverted population pyramid is putting immense pressure on state pension funds and healthcare systems. As the active labor force contracts by millions of workers every single year and internal consumption patterns stall, China faces the ultimate demographic trap, the very real, unprecedented danger of growing old as a society before it fully manages to grow rich. For the past 30 years, if you wanted to preserve or build wealth in China, you did not invest in the stock market or buy corporate bonds. You bought real estate. Unlike Western economies where household wealth is diversified across various financial markets, an astonishing 70% of Chinese household assets are locked directly inside residential property. Real estate and its connected industries became the absolute backbone of the nation, driving over 1/4 of the entire gross domestic product. Local municipal governments relied heavily on selling land leases to private developers to fund their entire operational budgets. It was a high turnover, high debt, perpetual motion machine that seemed entirely flawless, until the math stopped working. The immense bubble finally ruptured when Beijing introduced strict borrowing limits to curb runaway corporate debt. Deprived of easy credit, the highly leveraged business models of massive real estate giants collapsed in a wave of historic defaults. Sprawling mega-developers left behind a trail of unfinished concrete skeletons and trillions of dollars in unpaid liabilities. Today, the landscape is haunted by an estimated 80 million vacant or entirely abandoned homes across the country. Entire high-rise districts, originally marketed as premium luxury investments, sit completely dark at night, serving as silent monuments to an era of unbridled speculation. The ripple effects of this property crash are tearing through the psychological and financial fabric of the broader economy. With property values plummeting, hundreds of millions of middle-class citizens have watched their primary life savings evaporate into thin air. This has triggered a massive, systemic drop in domestic consumer confidence. Instead of going out and spending money to stimulate the service sector, anxious households are aggressively hoarding cash, causing domestic retail markets to completely stall. Simultaneously, smaller regional banks and local government financing vehicles are left holding mountains of non-performing loans, turning once vibrant economic boomtowns into constrained financial zombie zones, struggling to stay solvent. Faced with a shrinking population at home and a broken real estate model, the leadership in Beijing has made its ultimate strategic choice. Rather than attempting a Western-style rebalancing toward consumer spending, China is doubling down on what it does best: absolute industrial capacity. The state is pumping billions of dollars in subsidies, free land, and ultra-cheap state-backed loans into advanced manufacturing sectors. The goal is to unleash a tidal wave of hyper-competitive exports upon the global marketplace. This massive industrial surge has caught the rest of the world completely off guard, triggering an economic phenomenon that international analysts are officially calling China Shock 2.0. The scale of this export machine is profoundly disruptive. In sectors like electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, and renewable energy infrastructure, China has built an industrial ecosystem so integrated, automated, and massive that its production costs defy global competition. Chinese automotive exports, which analysts predicted would slowly reach 10 million cars by the end of the decade, have broken through global targets years ahead of schedule. This is no longer a story of manufacturing cheap plastic toys. It is a story of high-end, highly sophisticated technological dominance that is actively threatening the industrial heartlands of Europe and North America. This relentless export strength, paired with incredibly weak consumer demand inside China, has created an unprecedented global trade imbalance. While Western nations respond with sweeping tariffs and protective trade barriers to save their domestic automakers and green energy firms, China shows absolutely no sign of altering its course. The institutional incentives inside the country remain fiercely geared toward maximizing production over consumption. For global trade partners, this presents a severe dilemma. They are deeply dependent on China's ultra-cheap tech components to fuel their own digital and green transitions, yet they are watching their own domestic industrial bases get slowly hollowed out by the sheer force of Chinese overcapacity. If humans are becoming too expensive and scarce due to the demographic collapse, then the machines must take over completely. This is the core thesis behind China's aggressive national roadmap known as AI plus manufacturing. While Silicon Valley and Western tech conglomerates focus heavily on building closed, proprietary artificial general intelligence models designed to mimic human creative writing, art, and chat interfaces, China is pivoting toward immediate, practical, and highly physical execution. They are building an empire of autonomous, task-oriented software and hardware. This technological philosophy is clearly visible in the explosive open-source AI revolution sweeping through the Chinese software ecosystem. By rapidly adapting and scaling powerful, highly flexible open-source frameworks, like the OpenClaw architecture, Chinese developers have moved past the era of passive chatbots. Instead, they are deploying autonomous agentic AI swarms that are deeply integrated into domestic super apps like WeChat and massive corporate enterprise networks. These intelligent agents operate continuously in the background, executing complex administrative, logistical, and analytical tasks without requiring constant human oversight or instructions. It is an entirely new paradigm of white-collar automation designed to squeeze maximum efficiency out of a shrinking corporate workforce. But the true frontier of this strategy lies in the physical world, a concept known as embodied AI. By leveraging the country's undisputed dominance in electric vehicle supply chains, Chinese manufacturers are repurposing their highly advanced sensor, battery, and camera technologies to mass-produce humanoid robots at a scale never seen before. Guided by sweeping state initiatives like the Robot Plus industrial playbook, factories across Shenzhen and Shanghai are rapidly deploying fleets of bipedal and robotic laborers directly onto assembly lines. The strategic objective is clear and uncompromising: double the nation's manufacturing robot density within the next few years, insulate the industrial sector from demographic decline, and secure absolute, permanent control over the automated future of global manufacturing. China is no longer the predictable double-digit growth engine it was at the turn of the 21st century. The era of effortless economic expansion, powered by an inexhaustible supply of young, low-cost labor and endless, high-leverage urban construction, is permanently gone. The easy paths to modernization have been exhausted, and the institutional frameworks that guaranteed success for decades are now generating severe structural headwinds that cannot be ignored. What lies ahead is a much tighter, significantly more demanding economic phase. It is a highly volatile reality where the margins for error are razor-thin, and where the policy choices made in Beijing will send massive shockwaves through global supply chains, international currency markets, and geopolitical alliances. If China's high-tech, automated gamble succeeds, it will successfully transition into the world's first fully autonomous, high-tech industrial superpower, leaving its demographic liabilities completely behind. If it fails, it risks falling into a prolonged economic trap of stagnation and internal financial strain. The entire world is watching the dragon adapt, completely engineering its future from the automated factory floor up. What do you think is China's single biggest internal challenge? Is it the shrinking population, the real estate crisis, or the backlash against its massive export surge? Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive geopolitical breakdowns.